Hello, and welcome to today's session of Inner Evolution series. I am Daya Samuel, and today we are taking this conversation further. And today happens to be the final day of this series. Tomorrow is just going to be a Q&A session where you can ask me practically anything. So today we are starting the conversation by looking at peak performance secrets. And so at this point, let me quickly just pause here and then kind of post a little notice that I am live so that others can join me right in this session. Okay. So again, today we are taking this conversation further. Amazing. So I quickly just posted that. So let me confirm that all my sound and everything is working fine. I observed yesterday that for the first couple of minutes of my session, the audio was bad. I didn't notice until a few minutes in. That was when I noticed that my sound was bad. I'm wondering what happened then that I couldn't easily pick it. That was so unlike me. Okay, so if you're joining me for the first time, if this is your first time of joining me, this is Inner Evolution series, and I started this series since that should be in the last couple of days. That should be on the 20th, and today is the 25th. So it's been running for the last 4-5 days thereabout. First day, we talked about how to get started with personal evolution with self-actualization. The second day, I shared personal evolution model. The third day, we talked about systems thinking and your self-actualization. And then the fourth day, I talked about what kind of persons are you following, and the 4 stages of spiritual development. And then the yesterday, which is that should be the fourth or fifth day, right? The fourth day, yes, that's correct. That should be 1, 2. That should be 1, 2, 3, 4. Yesterday is the fifth day. And yesterday we talked about becoming fearless. I talked about the role of fear, how fear plays out in your personal evolution, in your self-actualization journey. And today being the final day, we are looking at peak performance secrets. And today I simply want to share the psychology and the practice that you can begin to inculcate, that you can begin to put in place in order to enjoy a life full of powerful stuff. So let me make this a little clearer so that I am more visible. And let me adjust this. Okay, that lighting is affecting the screen there. So let me see. Let me make it a little brighter. Okay, I think it's better now. Okay, so today let's jump into the conversation of today. Today we are going to be looking into some of the things that I have taught to some of my students in the past. Particularly when I say in the past, I'm referring to just a couple of weeks ago anyway, because the first part of the teaching that I did while we have been on lockdown, I've been running classes and doing classes one after the other, and it's been amazing, especially with the kind of results that people have been getting. So let me bring this down here. So okay, so let the recording here continue. Again, welcome to Inner Evolution. This is where you begin your adventure towards self-actualization. Today, we are looking at the science of peak performance. And I'm going to start with this particular model, this particular understanding of how the brain works. Now, if you want to achieve peak performance, of course, it begins by first understanding the psychology or the science behind peak performance. So first off, we'll kick off with this understanding of how the brain is designed. Now, the brain is designed with a lot of components working together to achieve one single goal: to keep you alive. Your entire brain has a bunch of systems working together, functions for one particular purpose: to keep you alive. And so when things happen around you, it passes through your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth. These are all sensory inputs that are going to you, and then it gets processed within the limbic system, or it gets processed within the cerebral cortex, or it gets processed within the several systems that are within your brain, and then it eventually passes out as a behavior, as an emotion, as a response through your brain stem, which is what is referred to as the hindbrain. That is the brain that sits behind your head. Now, I have simplified this into that is everything you see on this particular diagram. I've simplified it into something tiny here when we talk about the science of peak performance. And it basically comes down to these three things. First thing is that if you want to achieve peak performance, you need an element of these three things. You need the element of fun, you need the element of fear, and you need the element of focus. And when I say fun, you should be able to get stupid. You should be able to act stupid. You should be able to, and fun does not mean you go to a place and go and sit down and enjoy yourself. That is not what fun means. Fun simply means that you are able to get yourself into a state where you are able to act as if you are stupid, as though you are stupid, but you are terribly, if I'm permitted to use that word, you are fantastically enjoying yourself. And when it comes to fun, fun doesn't mean that you are catching fun with somebody, but when you are truly having fun, it means that you can get back to that state where you used to be like a child, where you can be as fun, as fun enjoying as possible. That is that for fun. And then the second is that of fear. If you want to achieve peak performance, you need some elements of fear in your life. In fact, you need some elements of being scared. If you are not scared, you will not be able to fully utilize your full potential. And remember, yesterday we talked about how fear plays out in your self-evaluation, self-actualization, right? So that combined with this particular segment right now helps you understand that fear is not something you will get rid of. Fear is something you can begin to use as an advantage. And so the third part is focus. You need some sense of focus where you can be selfish with time, selfish with yourself. And I need here to explain this element of fun. And when I talk about fun here, when it comes back to the science of your brain, when you are having fun, part of what you want to trigger is dopamine. And dopamine is the neurochemical, the hormone or the neurochemical that's associated with the sense of reward, like you're getting a reward from something, or an element of surprise, or some element of novelty, newness, or some elements of having fun, of humor, laughing totally, really hard. Now, when it comes to fear, on the other hand, we are looking at the neurochemical called noradrenaline. Unlike adrenaline, which is energy pumping, noradrenaline simply is the neurochemical that is released when you are slightly challenged, but you are slightly over challenged to the point where you are avoiding burnout. So you are not being challenged to the point where you burn out completely. You are just slightly over challenged so that there's this feeling of, I may not be able to do this completely, but I'm going to try anyway. Do you get it? So it's not like you have the full confidence in yourself that I am going to do this. And then sometimes that full confidence can result in procrastination, it can result in perfection, but you don't want that. You need some element of fear, you need some element of being scared slightly, and that's scare, and being scared, being fearful in this case simply means that you are slightly over challenged, to the point where you are able to avoid burnout. So you are not challenged to the point where you completely burn out. Now, the third part of the science of peak performance is focus, where you're able to be selfish with yourself. And the neurochemical that works at that or for that is what is called acetylcholine. And what you need to know here, because I don't want to get into all the tiny technical scientific conversation, so that you don't begin to wonder, what is this guy saying, Seth? But what you need to understand here is, if you want to maintain focus, you need some elements of, you need to be able to reduce multitasking. And a lot of people think that multitasking helps them to accomplish a lot. But scientifically, multitasking simply reduces, in fact, multitasking, when you multitask, there's the chance that you will have 50% more mistakes. You will make 50% more mistakes, and you will require 50% more time in order to complete that task that you are multitasking. So if you sit down and say, I'm simply going to focus on this thing, and this is what I'm going to focus on per time, this time, and I'm going to do it, you will find that you will achieve peak performance. Now, if you are going to consider the element of focus, what focus simply does, when you multitask, multitasking reduces attention. You tend to not pay attention to everything that you need to pay attention to at that point. So when you want to achieve peak performance, you need the element of fun, you need the element of fear, and you need the element of focus. Particularly when we talk about focus, you will know that, if you have ever heard of the concept called flow, the concept of flow simply means that you get into a situation where you simply just focus on one thing or one task or one activity for that time, till you get to that point where the thing is flowing without you consciously trying to make it happen. That is the level you want to get to. And so, in order to achieve peak performance, you need fun plus fear plus focus. If you take out fun, you will be most likely be draining yourself, because your brain needs that element of fun in order for it to function. If you take out the element of fear, you will probably have fun so much that you will not focus, or you will focus so much such that you will not have fun. And when you take out the element of focus, you will be full of fun, or you will most likely have a lot of fear, but you will still not be able to focus on what you need to do. So when we are talking about the science of peak performance, broken down to the simplest thing that you need to understand is, you need a blend of fear, you need a blend of fun, and you need a blend of focus. If you want to achieve peak performance faster, just anytime you want to achieve peak performance, just check what is your level of fun, what is your level of fear, and what is your level of focus. A lot of times, you will find that there's some elements of either balance or imbalance in what is going on. At this point, I want to find out, are you getting what I am explaining? Do you understand what I'm explaining? Hi, Lack. I'm trying to pronounce your name, but I think LK might be easier for me to pronounce. Thank you very much for joining me. You are very, very welcome. I'm discussing the science and the practice of achieving peak performance. This is where the idea here is for you to be able to trigger, for you to be able to perform at the peak that you need in your life, in your business, in whatever it is you're doing, so that you can always outperform your previous results. Okay? He says, I understand, bro. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's sometimes my name, sometimes it's not easy for people to pronounce, and I understand that that could be a cultural thing, because I'm trying to get into a different culture. Now moving forward, let's look at a few quick brain hacks that you can begin to utilize in order to achieve peak performance, in order to trigger peak performance. And these are quick brain hacks that you can either combine together in order to bring the in order to practice the three elements of peak performance that I've just shared with you right about now. So that means that if you want fun, if you want focus, if you want or you want to handle fear, a proper combination of the three of them is what gives you peak performance. Okay. Now, here are quick brain hacks that you can begin to do. Now, first one is to set up a reward system. It is said in the concept of neuroplasticity, which means that our brains, before now, we used to think that once you have a brain, your brain is the same thing for the rest of your life. But neuroplasticity is helping us to understand that your brain does not form once and remain formed like that forever. Your brain continues to form up until the day that you stop breathing, up until the day that you stop living. Now, in the concept of neuroplasticity, it means that neurons that fire, or it states that the neurons that fire together wire together. Now, what that means is inside of your brain, there are what I refer to as tiny, tiny let me see, how can I explain this right now? So let's use my finger here right now. When your brain wants to communicate with another part of your brain, what it utilizes are neurons. It utilizes axons. It utilizes is it axioms rather? It utilizes tendons. It utilizes, is it tendons? It utilizes a couple of organs that are very, very tiny. But those organs, calling them neurons right now might be easier for you to understand. So neurons, so they spring out. If this one goes this way and it needs to go another way, it can branch this way and branch that way. So it can start off from here, from this finger, and then branch a different way. It can start from here and come back to this. So it can always go a different direction. Now, what that means is when you are developing a new behavior, a new habit, a new pattern, and you are learning a new thing, or you are trying to reinforce a new process, especially when it has to do with behavioral, your brain is creating new neural pathways. Now, when your brain creates new neural pathways like that, what happens is, as it's creating the neurons, the neural pathway is associating it with an experience that you're having. So if you associate a new neuron firing in your brain, if you associate it with a reward system, you remember in the part of fun that the reward system is part of dopamine. So for example, if you set a goal that you want to achieve something, dopamine is instantly released, in the sense that dopamine comes to play when you want to go after something, when you crave something, dopamine is released. So for example, you're walking on the road and you see something that catches your fancy. While you're thinking of getting it, dopamine is being released. And so when it comes to the reward system, you want to design your life in such a way that you are able to associate reward with certain firings going on in your brain, such that you are able to associate the neurons with what you are trying to achieve. So you want to associate it in such a way that if you say, my goal, what I want to accomplish is to do this live stream, what is going to be the reward that you are going to get afterwards. So you want to associate the reward with this experience, such that anytime you do this experience, you go for the reward. Anytime you do this experience, you go for the reward. Now, when you do that, it helps you achieve peak performance. How? Because it's a quick hack. Like that LK says muscle memory. Yes, it's a little like muscle memory. Now, the difference between muscle memory and neuroplasticity, even though sometimes they are assumed to be the same thing, memory. Okay, let me explain it this way. I think this way it might be easier for you to place what you already know with what I'm explaining. So memory gets reinforced over time in the brain by going back to that experience or by recalling that experience. Now, anytime you recall the experience, anytime a memory comes back in your mind, there is or there are neurons that are associated or there are connections associated with that memory. And so anytime you recall the memory, anytime you bring it back to your mind, those neurons fire again. And so as they fire again, every time you recall that memory, every time you recall that memory, you strengthen that memory by recalling it. So sometimes if you want to um there's a concept called memory consolidation. Memory consolidation means that you go back and address the memory and re you kind of re-imprint the memory all over again. Now, if the memory is a bad one, you will need memory reconsolidation or memory re-imprint. But if the memory is a good one, anytime you recall it, you simply strengthen the muscle of that memory. And what you may not be aware of is that it is a branch or it is an offshoot, is an offspring of neuroplasticity because every time you recall it, the neurons still fire. Anytime you recall that experience or that memory, the neurons still fire. And so as the neurons fire, they are being associated with that memory. So as they fire, the memory is associated. As they fire, the memory is associated. As they fire, the memory is associated. The same way you are recalling that memory, if you want to achieve a particular result, can you begin to associate that same idea of associating with a memory? Can you associate it with a reward you want to get and begin to look at, okay, if I'm going to get this, this is the reward I'm going to set up. And so anytime you go closer to this or you make progress, you simply get closer to that reward. I hope you are getting me. Okay, thank you for that question. So the reward is an essential part. You need to set up a reward system. Second is the doorway effect. And the way I explain the doorway effect is if you want to improve or if you want to increase your productivity at any point in time, sometimes passing through a door can open up new possibilities. And this is a brain hack. It has happened, it has worked for me several times. I remember there was a time I wanted to tell my wife something, and as I stood up from this studio, got to the living room, I'd forgotten what I wanted to say. Do you know what I did? Quick hack, the doorway effect. I simply came back to this studio and began to open the door one after the other. By the time I was coming, as I opened the door to the studio and turned to close the door, the memory just came back. I just remembered exactly what I wanted to tell my wife. And so I just quickly went out and told her straight. Sometimes if you want to improve your performance, maybe you are bored, maybe you are tired, maybe you are feeling like you are fagged out, maybe you are feeling like you are burnt out. Sometimes just standing up and walking through a doorway can open up new possibilities. There was a story that I once heard that the guy, it was as he was passing through a door that an idea hit his mind. He had been battling with that idea for a very long time and he wasn't making any headway. And so that day he was actually just giving up on it. And as he was going out, as he opened the door, it was like he dropped a coin in his mind. And he was like, ooh, could this? And then went back and tried it. And that was the breakthrough he was looking for. So sometimes just passing through a door can be a quick hack to improving your performance. And number 3, you can jumpstart your brain with inspiration on demand. And when I say jumpstarting your brain with inspiration on demand, what I'm simply referring to here is the fact that sometimes you need, maybe you work in a creative industry like I do. Sometimes I am working on a project and, okay, for example, I've been working on a project for the last couple of months, for the past 3 months since March. Up till now, we are yet to come to a conclusion on how the project is going to look like. And that is in my company, Audacity to Lead, which is a different company apart from DSRM that we are seeing here anyway. So now what I found was there are times that, okay, let me say it this way. Let's say you run out of inspiration, let's say you run out of ideas and you don't know what else to do. You can simply jumpstart your brain with inspiration on demand. Quick example. Sometimes I want to design a logo for someone. Maybe I'm working on a logo project for a company and I want to design a logo. Do you know what I do? Sometimes when I can't come up with any ideas. So let me open my notes here so that you can see. Let me show you some of the ways I used to come up with ideas for logos. Okay, so this is one here. Look at this is one here right now. This is also another one here right now. So this is another one here right now. You can see this, right? Look at. So can you see all of this? Can you see all of this right now? Look at this again. Look at this side again. So you see this side again, right? So there have been times that I kind of run out of ideas, and what I'm simply looking for is, okay, how can I deliver on this result? What I do at that time is simply go to Instagram and then I begin to look for things associated with logo. So I go on Instagram and then I begin to look through my Instagram feed, especially I begin to look through people. Sometimes it's just to use the hashtag logo on Instagram. And then I'll simply be looking at the different logos that come up. I'll just be looking at them. In the process of looking at them, some things are beginning to form in my head. And so I start coming up with diagrams like this. I start coming up with diagrams like this, with pictures like this. I start coming up with pictures like this in the process of working on those logos. Now, it's not only logos that I use that for. Sometimes when I'm doing a creative work, it may even be that I'll go to a website where I know that designers publish their work. Sometimes I've gone to 99 Design to look at what is going on. Sometimes I've gone to Fiverr. I just keep checking and checking, because what am I doing? I'm simply jump starting my brain with inspiration on demand. So I'm simply just triggering inspiration for myself. Now, I'm not going to copy what other people have done, but just looking at the fact that they have done it a certain way, I look at it, okay, can I recreate this side? Can I recreate this side? Can I recreate this side? And by bringing plenty ideas together like that, sometimes I create a masterpiece that I'm like, wow, why did I think of this before now? But the reason why I didn't think of it was because I had run out of inspiration. And so, in order for me to have inspiration, I had to jumpstart inspiration on demand by simply looking at what other people have done. Do you get it now? So, sometimes a quick hack for achieving higher performance in whatever it is you do, it's to jumpstart your brain with inspiration on demand. Sometimes, let's say you are a video creator and you want to create a video on a particular subject and you seem to have a creative block. What if you can get on YouTube and watch videos relating to that subject? If you are a writer and you are seeming to have writer's block, could you pick up books, or maybe you can come into a library like mine here and just look at, okay, let's say you're writing a book about neuroscience. Can you just pick up a book? You can come into a library like this, and interestingly, library is a way to jumpstart your brain anyway. So can you come into a library like this and pick, perhaps you can pick a book like this. So look at this, a book about brain. Can you see? This is Inner Sights by John Assaraf, and it's the new science to unlock your brain's hidden power. So looking through it, or maybe reading it or scanning the book, can it trigger ideas in your head? So sometimes when you say you have creative block or you have writer's block, you can jumpstart your brain with inspiration on demand. Sometimes maybe what you need to do is to pick up a book about courage and confidence, especially a book that has a lot of models and pictures and a lot of interesting things, like my book here. So I hope you understand that. Okay, so it's happened to me also, bro. Amazing, 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 amazing. So I'm not the only one that it happens to. So I'm not the only one that it happens to. Very, very good. Very, very good. So now moving on, let's look at number 4, how to jumpstart your brain. Tip number 4 is music enhancement. And music enhancement simply means that sometimes the story I usually tell is, let's say I'm going to class. Of course, I'm an adjunct lecturer in a private university here in Nigeria. So let's say I'm going to class and I'm taking a subject where a subject, let's say the topic for that day is not something I'm particularly excited about. Or maybe let's say I'm not in a very hyper state, where I'm not in a very high mental state like I am now. I'm in a teaching state right now, okay? Let's say I'm not in a teaching state and I need to excite myself. What can I do? Sometimes what I just do is I turn on my phone, go to my music library, pick my earpiece, plug it to my ears, and then I start looking for songs that are exciting, songs that I naturally like. So songs like I'm a Winner, songs like what's the songs from the movie The Greatest Showman. Those songs I just like them. So I pick on some of those songs and then I begin to listen to them. Of course, the way music enhancement works is when you put your favorite music on repeat, somehow it gets you out of the state that you were in into a more positive state. This is something that has worked a lot of times, even when I'm handling therapy clients. Sometimes I get to ask them, what is their favorite music? And while I'm having a session with them, I'm playing the song in the background. Why am I doing that? So that they can get into a more positive mental and emotional state in order for us to get the results we are looking for. So, music can be a very, very powerful enhancement in order to jumpstart or in order to get your brain working. Okay, says, bro, you're from which country? Well, I am from Nigeria and I live in Nigeria. It's good to know that you are from India. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. So I'm putting my country on the screen. I am from Nigeria. So that's number 4. Moving on, number 5, use smells to your advantage. That's number 5. Use smells to your advantage. Now, what I need to help you understand here when it comes to smell is that every experience you have, every single time you make something happen, your brain associates that experience, that incident with a sight, a smell, a taste, a feeling, and a sound. Do you get that? So, but of the three, the one that is the sight and sound is usually the biggest. What you see, what you hear, what you feel, which is touch, is the next. But smell is so subtle that a lot of times we don't know that our brain has associated a smell with a particular experience. So, for example, before I started this live session right now, I had to go to my bedroom to go put on a spray. It's not like I'm going anywhere. It's not like I'm moving anywhere. It's not like I'm going to go do anything. But you know why I'm putting on, why I had to spray myself some fragrance? Because when I entered into the studio, after a lot of work here today, I my nose instantly picked a smell that wasn't very interesting to my nose. And if I sat down in here and tried to suppress that smell, I don't know, I could begin to like. But the interesting thing is this: every time you are in an environment, every time you are doing something, you are, in fact, if you pay attention, you will notice that sometimes when you are reading a physical book, your nose, your brain is paying attention to the smell of the book. So as you flip through the book, your smell, your sense of smell is actually picking the fragrance that's coming from the book. So sometimes when you are reading a book, you may not know that you are also taking in the smell of the book, but the smell of the book is also part of the experience of that reading moment. So you need to be aware of that. Sometimes you need to consciously make and utilize smells to your advantage. Sometimes you need to deliberately create smells in order for you to be able to operate at the level that you want to operate. One way to do that is to use maybe fragrance candles, is to use maybe air freshener, fine air freshener anyway, not some air fresheners that you will use and you will like, "Hmm." So that is that for quick brain hacks that you can begin to utilize there. So if you look at yourself right now, if you're not achieving peak performance the way you want to achieve, now remember that the first thing I shared here had to do with, first thing I explained here had to do with the science of peak performance, which is a healthy balance of fun, of fear, and of focus, right? That is, you need humor. You need to appear like you are stupid in order for you to perform at your peak. You need some element of fear in order to perform at your peak. And of course, when I talk about fear, a lot of times some people let fear drive them away from what they are supposed to do. And sometimes some of us let fear drive us to what we want to do. It all depends on how you are looking and interpreting what is going on in your life and what relationship you have with fear at this moment. And the third part is focusing. And when I say focusing, I'm referring to the fact that you can always let focus be your own advantage. Now, when I say focus, I'm referring to you are not trying to multitask. So imagine if I'm doing this live session right now, I'm doing this recording right now, and I'm still trying to reply to some chats. I'm still trying to send an email while I'm sitting down here right now. What is going to happen? There's 50% chance that I will make mistake with the email I'm writing, or I'll make mistake with what I'm saying, or I'll make a mistake with what I'm showing you on the screen. And there's also 50% chance that it's going to take a longer time for me to complete the email I'm writing. It's going to take longer time for me to clearly communicate an idea to you, which I can avoid by simply focusing on one task per time. So people who propagate the idea of multitasking, they, in actual sense, don't completely help. There are people that multitasking will help, but a lot of times multitasking does not help people a lot of the times. Okay, so you need to be aware of that. Now, moving forward from here, let's look at the a model that I teach in my class that I call the 3R coaching model. And this particular model here is a very, very important one that you can begin to use immediately after we finish this session, that you can instantly begin to utilize. It's a really, really powerful model. I call it the 3R coaching model. I use it to help people set goals. I use it to help people break through the barrier of getting to the level where they truly achieve the goal that they set for themselves. So let me walk you through the 3R model. So first, it starts with a reality. What does reality mean? It simply means understanding where you are. It simply means understanding where you are currently in your journey, where you are currently as regards to that thing you are trying to achieve. So if I ask you right now, maybe in the area of your finances, maybe in the area of your self-actualization, particularly, maybe the area of your personal evolution, where are you right now? The next is you want to find out the result. So in this case, you want to find a result that you want to go after. So the result is where you want to be. So while reality is where you are, result is where you want to be. Now, in between these two stands the resistance, which I refer to as roadblock. Now, if you remember the first day of this series, I talked about a quote by Stephen Pressfield, which says that most of us have two lives within us: the life we want to live, and most of us have two lives: the life we live and the unlived life that is within us. Between the life we live and the unlived life that is within us stands a resistance, right? Now, what I do when I coach people is I first of all help them address that resistance, especially when it comes to their self image, their self belief, their self worth, their self esteem. Now, once we identify that part, then we look at what they want to achieve, what stands as a roadblock between them. So, between the where you are right now and the result you want to get, what can you say is the roadblock that stands between you? Now, roadblock usually is what is stopping you. And so, if you want to achieve peak performance using this particular model of coaching that I teach, that I use, and I've actually certified people to be able to use this model for others, and they are creating one particular guy. In fact, one particular guy who is a major when it comes to helping people achieve goals and break through what's holding them back. This is one of the models it basically just helps people utilize. So what you want to do is you want to go from reality to the result, and then you want to come to the full awareness of knowing how to bypass from where you are, which is your reality. You want to bypass the roadblock so that you can come to the result. Now, I know it's very easy for you to say, since I know the reality, can't I quickly jump into the result and ignore the roadblock here? What you may not know is that even when you try to run away from the roadblock, somehow it shows up somewhere, and then it now begins to create some form of stumbling block for you. So rather than run away from the roadblock, why not factor it into your planning process, into your execution, so that you can handle the roadblock even when you are getting closer to the results. Now, I'm going to use a little example here. So I'm going to show you a few examples. I'm going to show you just one example. I'm not going to show you too many examples. So if you are getting this, if it's getting clearer and if it is useful to you, please leave a comment. Let me know right now that this is useful to you, that yes, this is useful to you. Let me know, let me know, let me know. So let's say the reality that you want to have is you want to. So let's say the reality you want to have is now when, okay, trying to look at the comment, you see what I said about being distracted. So I turned on my phone in order to look at, let me bring myself on the screen. So I turned on my phone in order to look at comments. And you see, I couldn't be at peak performance. Very useful. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. So let's cover that. So if you want to go from reality to result, what you need to first of all do is to create a vision. That is what's going to take you from reality to the result. And when you are creating vision, you simply want to go for clarity. So you don't want to set your vision, you don't want to cast the goal of that, you don't want to write the result in a way that is ambiguous. So you want to look at it. What exactly am I trying to get? Now, when we are looking at vision or we are looking at clarity, there are two things. Of course, when you are working on your clarity and your vision, what this result is that you are simply creating. Oh, I thought my tablet was connected. So let me quickly connect my tablet so that I know that, okay, good. So this is, so there is what is called goal. When you are working on matching your vision and the clarity of the vision. Now, when we are talking about goal, we need to also understand that there are two kinds of goals. And this is where you need clarity. This is where you need vision. Of course, vision is the goal, right? Vision is what you are trying to accomplish. accomplish, which is the result, right? Now, what you need to also know here is that there are two kinds of goals. There is means goal and there is end goal. Means goal in this case, means goal here simply means this means is what's going to lead you to this end. So, for example, if you say you want to make $1 million, to what end are you trying to make $1 million? And I know that's a deep question because oftentimes we think what we are looking for is money, but what we are looking for is not money. Money is only a means to the end of what we are looking for. So, what you want to do is you want to look at it. If I make $1 million, what will $1 million make happen for me? That exactly is your end goal. That is the real thing you are looking for. The money is just a means to that end. So let me pause here right now. If you are getting me, say yes in the comments. Let me know that you are getting me right now. If you're getting me, say, tell me what you can understand from what I've shared so far. Share that with me in the comments because you will begin to live courageously from now because you begin to see that almost everything in this life can be boiled down to some systems that we need to understand and begin to utilize. As I've always said, everything in this life, the systems rule entire human experience. So if you're getting me, please say that in the comments. Amazing. Thank you for that. So now, having understood that there is means goal and there is end goal, the end determines the means. But a lot of times we focus on just the means. So money is only a means to an end. If you make the money, what does that money make happen for you? You need clarity in that area. Do you get it now? Now, moving forward, we want to look at okay, from reality, if you want to break through reality and if you want to move from reality and break through the roadblock, whatever it is that may be stopping you, what you want to do is you want to first of all identify exactly the roadblock that may be stopping you. And my idea is that you identify a lot of the roadblocks that may likely stop you. And when I say a lot of the roadblocks that may likely stop you, I'm referring to the fact that you want to pay attention to your journey and look at what are the possible roadblock. Now, this is not the actual roadblock. You want to say what are the possible roadblock that I may face in trying to accomplish this goal? What is that thing that may come up that may stop me from achieving this goal? That is what you want to pay attention to. Because if you don't pay attention to the things that may likely stop you, it means your result will basically just not be realized. And you don't want that to happen to you. So you want to identify exactly what your roadblocks may be. So for some people, their roadblocks are procrastination. Sometimes, so for some people, their roadblocks are themselves, that are the ones who stop themselves from doing the things they want to do. For some people, roadblock is fear. For some people, their roadblock is overwhelm. They want to do everything at once. And so that creates overwhelm. Of course, if you itemize what you need to do, typically, from my own experience with a lot of my clients who experience stress and overwhelm, once they start itemizing what they need to do, it eliminates 50% of that stress. It eliminates 50% of that overwhelm. But of course, they might not think of itemizing what they need to do. That what is the first thing I need to do? Then what is the next thing? And then what is the next after that? What is the fourth after that? The moment you itemize them like that, clarity almost instantly hits your mind so that you know this is the first thing I need to do, then this is next. So you want to identify what are the possible roadblocks that are going to stop you. Imagine as many roadblocks as possible that can stop you. If you are trying to submit a proposal somewhere, The roadblock might be that you might meet someone who may tell you that, excuse me, sorry, we are not open today. Or part of the roadblock could be maybe you are trying to start a business online. Part of the roadblock could be bad internet network. That is a roadblock. You need to factor that in getting to the result you're trying to get. Now, once you identify as many roadblocks as possible, the next thing you want to do is you want to begin to create options. And this is where your growth begins. This is where your growth begins to show up. This is the first element of growth. And when I say first elements of growth, this is where you want to create a plan for you to grow past your roadblock. And when I say grow past your roadblock is usually a thing standing in your way. You don't want to try to uproot that thing out of your way. What you want to do is you want to grow so that you can become more than that thing that may tend to stop you. So you want to create options. Now, part of creating options could be that you want to break down. If you say you want to make, so let's say you want to make one, let's say you want to make, okay, let me pick this side. Let me use a pen here now rather than this. Let me use a pen here now. So let's say you want to make 1 million. So let's say you want to make 1 million. You want to break it down. This is where you want to create options. If you are going to make 1 million, it means you need maybe 500,000 times 2. You need to have 250,000 times 4, 100,000 times 10, 50,000 times 20. You want to break down everything down like this. And then you want to now say, okay, what service can I offer, or what thing can I do that will bring in 500,000 just twice? What then do I need to do here? In other, what kind of thing can I do that will offer 250,000 just 4 times? What can I do that I'll just offer 100,000 10 times? And what can I do to offer 50,000 just 20 times? So this becomes plan A, plan B, this becomes plan C, and this becomes plan D. Once you can itemize and come up with a plan like that, you just basically come up, you will almost instantly be able to overcome that roadblock, whatever roadblock that may be stopping you. Now, moving forward from there, moving from that roadblock, what you then want to do then is, what actions do you need to take? Remember that here you have broken down all of these, right? You then want to come to this side of action and look at, okay, plan A, plan B, plan C, and then plan D. And then you want to look at each of the actions that you need to take. And then you want to itemize the action. So this one, you are going to do this one, maybe monthly. You are going to do this one, maybe weekly. Maybe you are going to do this one daily. And maybe you are going to do this last one hourly. So you want to break them down into a plan of action like that. And then the next part of this tension here is you want to look at, if I don't achieve this goal here, if I don't achieve this result here, what am I going to lose and what am I going to gain? And you want to associate that with this end goal up here. So you want to look at it like, if money is going to be the means to the end, what am I going to lose if I don't make this money? It means that I'm not going to be able to do that end goal that I'm gunning for. Of course, if you want to make $1 million in order to take care of your family or in order to build your house, it means if you don't do this, if you don't take action here, if you don't do this in here, the tension there becomes, you will not be able to build the house, you will not be able to take care of your family, you will not be able to maybe have a roof over your head. That then becomes where you work out everything. So far, has this been clear? Has this been meaningful to you? Let me know. Has this been meaningful to you? Has this been meaningful to you? Let me know right now. Has this been meaningful to you? Is this helpful to you? Is this helpful to you? I hope so. I hope so right now. I hope so right now. Has this been helpful to you? So let me know what's one thing you have learned so far that you can begin to utilize immediately. What's one thing that you have learned so far that you can begin to utilize immediately? I would like to know that right about now. Okay, so while I wait for your answers, let me move forward. So let's talk about the different states that your brain can get into in order for you to achieve peak performance. So if you want to achieve peak performance, you remember that earlier on. Now, if you notice, what we have done is we have created both these, we have covered both the science and the practice. So now let's talk a little about the science again, and then perhaps maybe I'll round up. And if I want to, I may touch on a little about some of the practices that you can do as well, especially when it comes to these brain states. So now talking about brain states, there are 5 different brain states. And what is a state? A state is a state. But first, the first brain state that we usually get into is alpha. And alpha is dominant during quietly flowing thoughts. Alpha state is the state where people get into when they are in a meditative state. It is that state where you get into where you are in the present, where you are here in the moment. You are not absent minded. Alpha is that state, is the resting state of the brain. Alpha aids mental coordination, calmness, alertness, mind body integration, and learning. So, as you are listening to me right now, you are most likely in an alpha state. Second is beta. Now, beta state dominates waking state of consciousness. When attention is directed towards cognitive tasks and the outside world, that is beta state. And this usually has something to do with fast activity. It is present when we are alert, when we are attentive, when we are trying to solve problems, when we are making decision, or we are engaging in some focused mental activity, perhaps maybe like what I just shared with you just now. Now, third state is delta, and delta is when there is slow, loud brain waves. You may not understand that, but what it means is, when something is loud, it's like, dong. That is loud, that is slow. Now, delta is generated in deepest meditation and dreamless sleep. Delta, you are in a delta state when your external awareness, your external environment is kind of suspended. So you are majorly fully aware of what's going on inside of you rather than what's going on outside of you. Scientifically said that is the source of empathy. So you have to resonate with people at a deep level in order to be able to be empathetic towards them. Delta state is that state where healing and regeneration are stimulated. So when somebody is healed, sometimes it's coming from the fact that that person just tapped into the delta state of their brain. And that is why deep restorative sleep is so essential to healing. When somebody says that they have headache, they have pain, they have maybe migraine, sometimes it is found that if you go to sleep and sleep deep enough, by the time you are waking up, the headache, the migraine is gone. Why? Because sleep is man's most effective medicine. There are a lot of drugs that may not be necessary if people sleep well enough. And number 4 is gamma. Now, gamma is the fastest of all of these brain waves. And that in a state of gamma, in the brain state of gamma, it is related to simultaneous processing of information from different brain areas. So this is what happens when you are listening to me and you are trying to match what I'm saying with perhaps some experiences in your life. Do you get that? Now, you are in a gamma state when information passes rapidly and quietly. So information, the ideas are just flowing, but it's just flowing quietly. It's not making the sound I made just now. Now, gamma is highly active when you are in a state of universal love, altruism, or higher virtues. You are in a state of gamma when you are opening your heart to people, when you're opening your heart to embrace something or embrace someone, of course. Gamma modulates perception and consciousness. Moving on to the last one, which is theta, it often occurs in sleep or deep meditation. I had a class last month, and in that class, I was explaining to my students that because one person was complaining that he was battling anytime he tries to get into meditation, he slips off. So I was explaining to him that that should not be a problem because sometimes when you are in a deep meditative state, sleep it will appear like as if you are sleeping, but that is your theta being activated. It is a theta state of your brain being activated. Now, if you want to get into deep learning, this is the state where deep learning takes place. In fact, it's even I even wrote it there. I said that's a gateway to learning, memory, and intuition. So if you want to explore your intuition, as you can see here, sleep or deep meditation is what gets you there. So could that be that I'm suggesting you should meditate? Well, yes. Seeing all of these different states of the brain, it's very obvious that meditation may be a good practice. Now, our senses are withdrawn from the external world and focused within when we are in a theta state. When we are in this theta state, all of our senses are focused on inside. So your evolution, your actualization moves from outside to inside. So you are not focusing on external things in order to validate who you are. You are not going externally in order to be more of who you truly need to be. Everything just goes inside of you. And this is twilight state experience as we wake or we drift to sleep. So every single day you experience theta state. When you are waking up, as you drift to sleep at night, or as you drift to wake in the morning, this could this could account for why Albert Einstein and I think Benjamin Franklin also was it Benjamin Franklin, but I know it was Albert Einstein. I think there were two persons who had this routine of sleeping every now and then. So during the day, they sleep frequently, and their sleep usually is very, very short. The sleep is not long. I think Benjamin Franklin had 20 minutes, 4 hours routine. So he sleeps for 20 minutes and is awake for 4 hours. He sleeps for 20 minutes, is awake for 4 hours. And Albert Einstein, I think he take power naps. And when he takes power naps, he holds a bell in his hand so that as he sleeps off, once it drifts off to sleep, the bell just drops and then it triggers him back to wake state. So as you switch between those two, waking state and sleep state, waking state to sleep state, you are getting into twilight state, which is the deepest level of intuition, deepest level of learning, level of memory. Do you get it now? So sometimes sleep, as I said earlier on, could be man best medicine. Now in theta, we are in a dream. Vivid imagery is taking place, intuition, and information beyond our normal conscious awareness. This is what happens when people have dreams and they wake up and it feels like that dream was exactly happening in the physical world. It's because they were able to drift into that theta state. In this theta state as well, this is where we hold our fears, our troubled history, and our nightmares. So a lot of times people don't want to get into this level. You know why? Because if they get to that level, it will trigger a lot of things in their lives. And so they don't want to get to that point. They don't want to address things. So I needed to explain this because as we talk about peak performance, you need to understand that You can help yourself eh, to achieve peak performance by simply understanding the brain science behind peak performance and also understanding the physical things that you can do. And I hope that I've been able to do that for you in this particular session. Now, if you observe so far, what I've done is I helped you understand the science. I broke down the science into a simple model that I call the science of peak performance. And then I showed you the quick hacks that you can trigger in order for your brain to start helping you become more of who you need to be, becoming more of who you truly are. And then I went from that and showed you the 3R coaching model, which is having explored this peak performance, you can bring that into the goals that you set for yourself, into some of the things you want to achieve. After that, you also need to understand. The next thing I did was to help you understand the 5 different brain states that we get into per time. And of course, if you notice of different all of these different things that I've mentioned, one consistent element in all of them is practicing meditation. Now, intentionally, I intentionally used the picture of a Buddhist monk, but you don't have to be a Buddhist in order to practice meditation. You don't also have to be a monk in order to practice meditation. You can practice meditation sitting on your office chair. You can practice meditation simply finding a quiet place. I have found that in the Bible, quiet time, solitary place, those were things that the Bible uses to describe what Buddhists call meditation. But a lot of times we think going into a solitary place simply means that you are leaving the noise that is going on. A lot of times, what that means is you are going into a secret, solitary place in order to explore the world, the universe that is within you. So, my challenge to you today is to begin from today to begin to explore all of these different states that you can get into. Utilize them every now and then. And so, as a practice, in order to integrate all of these brain states into your personal life, I'm going to recommend to you that you begin to practice meditation. Now, if you are the type of person who has a noisy mind, what I have done in my own practice of meditation is I play music. You remember I mentioned music earlier on as music being a brain booster, right? So what I do is I play certain types of music. I have a playlist. In fact, a friend of mine once sent me a playlist. I think the name of that album was called Native Spirit, and I totally fell in love with that album. It's an album of maybe 10 or 11 tracks. None of them has voice. In fact, all the voice that was there is just something like that. They were not really singing. And I totally enjoyed because they were simply just making sounds that help you explore the world that are inside of you. So I'm going to challenge you. If you want to evolve, if you want to self actualize, you need the element of exploring the universe that is within you because no other person knows you as you. You know yourself best. There's no prophet anywhere, there is no guru anywhere that knows you as much as you can know yourself. You know yourself best. And so today you can begin that journey. You can begin to go inside and explore the universe that is within you. So I hope this session has been helpful to you. Okay, says my dream started happening before 4 years, and I had so much depression because of it. Sorry about that. Says now I'm not having anything like that. Okay, just to understand, to be clear with what you said, do you mean that you no longer have dreams, or do you mean you no longer experience depression? If it is depression, I'm going to be particularly excited about that too. So let me know which is which, okay? And thank you very much, okay, for being actively engaged today and tonight. I appreciate that a lot. So, again, I'm going to ask you here, when are you going to begin to explore the universe that is within you? Are you going to just live your life according to other people's dictates? You are going to begin to live your life in order for you to become all that you truly need to be. I am Dyer Samuel, and I'm expecting to hear from you in the comments right now. So share with me, share with me, share with me, share with me. So great. So if you're still here, please remember to share and subscribe. Remember to share and subscribe, and be sure to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of the conversations we are having here. Here on this channel, my goal is to bring you to that level where you can create deeper shifts in your own life. And so, whether it's in the area of fear, whether it's in the area of stress, whether it's in the area of your self-esteem, whether it's in the area of your mental and emotional well-being, my goal is to help you create a deeper shift. Okay, so okay, says I have dreams, but my dreams are not happening anymore in reality. Oh my. So if I understand you clearly, what you mean is that before 4 years, you before 4 years, you used to have dreams, and those dreams used to come to pass. But for a while now, it's not happening so much. Okay, so they are not happening anymore. I am getting that a little bit better now. Okay, so is it possible that you I'm trying to consider some of the options that may be happening. I'm trying to consider some of the things that may be happening. I'm trying to consider some of the things that may be happening. I'm trying to consider some of the things that may be happening. While I don't want to make a non-educated guess, I okay, since I commented, but it's taking time to show to you. Sorry about that. So, what I'm guessing that may be happening could be related to dreams are something. Okay, there are two ways to look at dreams. First way to look at dream is the product of what we do in our everyday life. That is more like a consolidation of everything you do in your day-to-day life. The second way I look at dream is when you when when your spirit when something within you wants to pass a message to you. Now, the way I usually say that is this: if your spirit is trying to get some information across to you, and perhaps it has tried to utilize intuition to inform you and you're not paying attention, your spirit may present it to you as a dream. It will present it to your mind as a dream. If it is a product of what is happening in your everyday life, these a lot of times, which a lot of people usually have as dreams, doesn't always happen. But when it comes to this one that comes from your spirit, a lot of times it could be a prediction, it could be a metaphor, sometimes it could be a symbolic, it could carry symbolic meaning. So if that is the case, and it's been happening before you were 4 years old, and it's no longer happening again, is it possible that you are no longer paying attention to the phrase I used earlier on, to the universe within you? Is it possible that you are no longer paying attention to something within you? Is it possible that you have doused, you have quieted, you have quenched that ability for your spirit to present information to your mind? Is that a possibility? I'm just I'm just asking so that we can compare the two of them. Because if you compare the part of being coming from your day-to-day experiences, and if you compare the fact that it may be coming from your spirit, if that's stop coming from your spirit, you most likely have more of this. But if it is if you have kept your spirit still alive If you have kept your spirit flexible, it should still be coming. Now, when about it coming to pass, I may not be able to say clearly, I may not be able to clearly answer that. But I hope that you understand my answer. So, Elke says, I had a dream of a theft happening and explained to my mom next day evening. My home was, oh, interesting. So you explained to your mom and the next day it happened. Wow. So in that case, if you're no longer getting those dreams, it may be that you stopped doing certain things. It could be that part of the dowsing of your spirit, part of the dowsing of that area, because sometimes you can receive prophecies through dreams, you can receive predictions through dream, you can receive like I mentioned, it could be metaphors, it could be symbolic. And when they have been happening consistently like that and they stopped and dreams stopped coming altogether, could it be that you stopped doing something? Could it be that you stopped paying attention to certain things? There's a movie that I started seeing, um, and I enjoyed the series. The series called God Friended Me. Now, in that series, the lead actor called Miles usually gets a friend suggestion from a Facebook account called God. So a Facebook account called God will send him a friend request, and the friend request or will suggest a friend request to him. And when that friend is suggested to him, anytime he steps in, it will turn out that that person needs some form of help. And that has been happening consistently for one full season, for the second season as well. So he started complaining and he began to have some sense of, he began to feel stress, he began to feel like it was going to take away his life, was going to take away some of his freedom, some of his enjoyment. And because he was thinking that it was going to create stress and uneasiness for him, because God loved him so much, that is, that God account loved him so much, the God account stopped suggesting friends to him so that he won't go and kill himself. I want to kind of like bring that in to help you understand. Could that be a reason why that is happening to you? So okay says that is giving me more stress and depression. So now I'm good without dreams. Amazing. So it could be that your response to the dreams has been stress, has been depression. And so in order to save you from the stress and depression, the dreams simply stopped. Do you understand now? Now, sometimes our our brain sometimes our brain understands what we may not clearly speak with our mouths. And usually our brain utilizes what we think to supply chemicals to our bodies. Sometimes now when it comes to dreams, I'm yet to complete a study. The study has to do with the pineal gland, which is referred as the third eye. Some people call it the third eye. Now, that pineal gland at the third eye, sometimes that is where, well, I'm yet to fully come to a conclusion on it. But sometimes, in combination with the memory that is your hippocampus, they could serve you dreams. Okay. When you don't want to, when you feel like you are being stressed, feel like there's depression being attached to the dreams, your brain gets to understand that information. And so in order to protect you, remember, okay, maybe you were not here when I started this live stream, when I started this session. One of the first things I said at the beginning of this session was, every time you try to achieve peak performance, also be aware that your brain will do everything it needs to do in order to protect you, in order to keep you alive. So whatever it is that's going to stress your brain is going to destabilize your system to the point that it may lead to death. Your brain tries to avoid it. And that is the basis why a lot of people have fears anyway. Their brain is trying to protect them from something that it doesn't want to happen to them. But because they don't understand that, they think that the fear itself is a bad thing. Do you get? So if you have sent that signal of stress and depression constantly to your brain, of course, in order to protect you, your brain will stop. Your brain will stop serving you dreams that are going to make you feel bad. Hey, Adeye Adebayo, thank you for joining me here. Good to have you here, but you came late. We are 1 minute, as at the time you came in 17 minutes, so we are 1 minute, 17 minutes into this session before you came in. You're welcome anyway. Thank you for joining me. So, LK says I stopped using toothpaste as it contains fluoride, which calcifies our pineal gland. Well, I once heard one Indian scientist explain that. I once heard an Indian scientist explain that it calcifies, that is, it creates a lot of calcium and makes our pineal gland very hard. But someone else who's also a scientist disclaims that, while I don't know, maybe it's an Indian agenda anyway, but his own explanation helped me more than that of the Indian scientists. I'm even trying to remember the name of the Indian scientist. I think his name should be Sorry something. I've forgotten. But he runs, I've forgotten the name of his place. He runs, he does a lot of seminars in India. And so I follow him, I subscribe to his channel, and I follow him a lot. And okay, let me try and look for that. Okay, let me check YouTube straight and look for that so that I can give a factual answer, not be guessing from my head. But I also try to stop using. I also try to stop. I also try to stop using. This. I also try to stop using toothpaste that contain fluoride. In fact, currently I'm using an activated charcoal toothpaste. That's what I'm currently using. I'm currently using an activated charcoal toothpaste. So I'm trying to look for the name of the guy. I'm trying to look for the name of the guy. Of course, cannot be this lady. I know he's an India guy. I can't even remember his name right now. But I totally enjoyed the fact that he had some science backing what he was saying. Not some, not some. Let me see if I can. And why is it difficult to find right now? Okay, let me go to my history. Perhaps I might be able to utilize my history to find that. So that is that for okay, his name is Raja Chowdhury. I found it. His name is Raja Chowdhury. Yeah, that's his name. His name is Raja Chowdhury. Yes, that is his name. So he does a lot of scientific analysis of plenty of spiritual stuff. So he does a lot of that. And it was when he was explaining it that I understand that. So he says, I'm using Ayurvedic powder for teeth. I would like to explore that. The first time I got to know about Ayurvedic, I got to know about Ayurvedic from Dr. Deepak Chopra. That's the first place I got to know about Ayurvedic, anything Ayurvedic. But I have not seen Ayurvedic powder before. So maybe one of these days, maybe I'll explore that. Okay. So at this point, are there questions that you would want me to answer? Are there questions you will want me to answer? If there are no questions, I would want to play a little video here that I played before. So let's take that video right now.
This is one of the most powerful questions you could ask of yourself. So take a listen carefully. Are you a tourist or are you a traveler? You see, most of us go through life as a tourist. We follow all the popular sites and all the popular crowds to all the trending places, and we try to memorialize everything on a selfie stick, imagining that sometime in the future we could recapture the past. We have an itinerary, a schedule, a destination, and a fixed idea of what we're going to see in the main attractions. And if things go wrong or detour, we fall apart. Is it possible for us to go through life in another way? Not as a tourist, but instead as something else? How about we go through life as a traveler? You see, a traveler has a very different mindset. In the mind of a traveler, there is simply no destination to be reached, and the true jewel of life lies in its journey. The traveler understands that life is not meant to be lived as a documentation for some point in the future, but instead to be fully experienced in the here and now. So who are you going to be in your life? A tourist or a traveler? A tourist who follows the beaten path, who's always looking for where the crowds go, looking at life from the outside in? Or are you going to be a traveler who takes the road less traveled, who's in touch with the locals, who accepts that nothing is predictable or safe, for whom everything is an adventure, who looks at life from the inside out? The traveler understands that a life well lived is a life lived in the present moment. No itinerary, no selfie stick, no destination, and no baggage. The tourist is always looking for the next trip, the traveler for their next journey. To truly live, you have to be willing to be alive, be present, and travel deep into your destiny. So let me ask you, are you ready to stop being just a tourist in your life? And are you ready to step into the traveler in you so that you can fly far into the sky and deep into your soul? This is one of the
Okay, so welcome back. So let me make a couple of announcements. Tomorrow by 8 p.m., 8 p.m. should be 8 p.m. my time. That's 8 p.m. GMT plus one. So 8 p.m. GMT. Let me check the time it's going to be in India. GMT plus one will be 1:30. Oh, interesting. Wait, okay. Does that mean that it's around 1 a.m. in the morning right now? Wow. So it says how to focus on studies. I'm lacking motivation. Okay. So let me quickly answer this question. By 8 p.m. tomorrow, I'm going to be taking a session here as well. That will be the final session of this series. And that session is basically ask me anything. So tomorrow by 8 p.m., I'm taking an ask me anything session. It's going to be for as long as there are questions. Once there are no questions, I am done. But tomorrow, any question as long as you have questions, we will try to look for answer. Okay. Oh, now I'm at Russia. Oh, great. I'm doing my medical studies 4th year. Oh, congratulations. Congratulations. And for your studies, you are trying to focus, you're lacking motivation. Now, let me explain something about motivation. Motivation is not something you lack, or maybe I should say this way. We don't look for motivation. We simply create motivation. It's 11:30 p.m. here. Okay, so that means that by 10 p.m. by 10 p.m. tomorrow, I'm going to be taking an Ask Me Anything session. So if you can make yourself available for that, it's going to be interesting. As I said yesterday and day before yesterday, if anybody wants to join me live, like you want to come on the screen, I'm going to create a means for that person to be able to join me so that they can join me on screen and we can have a little conversation on screen. But if you don't want to join on screen, it's okay as well. So let me quickly answer your question of how to focus in studies. So first of all, let me address motivation. You don't lack motivation. You simply may not just be creating the kind of motivation that will help you to do what you want to do. So to help you understand, motivation happens to be two types. There's intrinsic motivation, which comes from within you, and there's extrinsic motivation, which comes from outside of you. If you say that you're lacking motivation, what it means is you are lacking motivation coming from outside of you. But if you say that you're lacking motivation coming from inside of you, if you remember during this session, I shared 5 ways to quickly hack your brain. Number one, what is the reward you're trying to get? What is the ultimate reward you're trying to get? What is the, if it is, you said you are trying to focus on your studies. The question is, if you focus on your studies, what will be the ultimate outcome? If you focus on your studies, does that mean, or let me say, if you focus on your studies, what would be the outcome of being able to focus on your studies? Maybe you come out of school in flying colors. That is a reward, right? So it becomes a motivation. But again, you see, you are the one that is creating it. You are not looking for it. Secondly, to utilize what I taught earlier on when it comes to looking for motivation. So that's the first one. You need to, first of all, create the motivation. Second thing is, I mentioned the doorway effect, which means that when you are trying to break through into something, or you are trying to remember something, or you are trying to do a little, you are trying to get out of your own way. Sometimes just standing up, walking through a door, or walking through some doors can actually help you. For example, I shared my own story that sometimes I want to say something and I forget, and simply just passing through a door, pretending I'm going back, sometimes it triggers me to remember that. So when it comes to, then the other question that I will also ask you, okay, is how are you utilizing your environment? How are you utilizing your environment? What kind of environment are you setting around yourself anytime you want to study? So if you say you cannot focus on studies, are you the type of person who may enjoy studying via video? Are you the type of person who may enjoy studying via audio? Are you the type of person who may enjoy studying by opening a book and reading? You need to find the way that you learn best. There are different ways that we learn. Reading is not the only way somebody can learn, okay? There are multiple modalities for learning. And so, if you are the type that likes to read, when you are reading, is it possible that you have your attention scattered all over the place? Remember, I mentioned earlier on that when we are talking about focus, let me see if I can find that. Okay, good. I can find it. So let me share it right there so that you will even see what I'm trying to say here. Earlier on, I shared this. Earlier on I shared this. I talked about earlier on I shared this. I talked about earlier on I shared this, and I said that if you want to focus, if you want to focus, if you want to achieve high focus, particularly when it comes to having peak performance, achieving peak performance, one of the things you need to do is focus. I said these are the 3 pillars of peak performance. And I said focus is one of them. You need to be selfish with where you pay your attention. So sometimes when you are multitasking could be as simple as you are maybe you are doing something else while trying to read. That is dissipating your attention power. Um, Could it also be that you need, as I mentioned earlier on, when you multitask, there's a likelihood that you make 50% more mistakes, and there's also likelihood that it's going to take 50% more time to complete because multitasking reduces attention. So I want you to look at it right now. How are you reading? How are you focusing? Is it possible that one, you are trying to force yourself to learn in the way that is not congruent with how you learn? Two, is it possible that while you are studying, you are distracting yourself with other things? Perhaps maybe you are you are multitasking. So that can affect your focus as well. So I hope that was helpful to you. I hope that was helpful to you. Okay, since yesterday was my birthday, bro. Oh wow. Happy, I wish I had an happy birthday song here right now. Just say happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Okay. Happy birthday to you. Maybe God give me your advice as my birthday gift. Oh, wow. Thank you very, very much. And a happy birthday to you. So I hope that answers your question right about now. And in the next couple of seconds, I'm going to jump off this stream and we are going to meet again tomorrow for an Ask Me Anything session. I mean, you can practically ask any question. If it happens to be a question um, I already have a training material for. I will open my training material and share with you so that you can understand. Now, okay, something just triggered in my mind. Now, sometimes a lot of times you train your brain for any result you want. And so you can train your brain to begin to focus. Same way, I remember when I was trying to pass the exam that you take when you want to leave secondary school, when you want to leave high school. I remember I had a challenge with that. I wrote that exam for 4 straight years, 8 different times. That is, I was writing it twice a year for 4 different years, and I couldn't succeed in passing that exam. Now, what I found was that anytime I'm trying to read, then I will have hip hop music playing in the background. Either the hip hop music is playing through turntable, or it was playing via radio, or it was playing via my music set. There was always music around me. What I did not notice then was that the music, my brain was paying attention to the music. So while I thought I was reading, I was also dissipating my attention. And coming from a place of experience, coming from the fact that it has personally happened to me before, what I would recommend is if you can, you might need to train your brain to begin to focus on just one thing, particularly when you are studying, so that your brain can begin to focus on just study at that time. And in order to do that, simply set a reward for yourself. The reward could be that you want to come out of school with flying colors. You want to come out of medical school with flying colors. So if you say that you want to come out of school with flying colors, that becomes a motivation one, and it also becomes a reward that you are going to get. And so when it becomes a reward and a motivation, then studying becomes more interesting. Studying becomes more exciting because now you have a reward you are looking forward to. So that dopamine shot gets activated. It begins to make you feel like you are progressing anytime you are studying. So I hope that this was truly helpful to you. Okay. Thank you very much for that question. Thank you very much for that question. I look forward to tomorrow when I'm going to be taking any question you have to ask me at all. Any question, whether in business, especially when it has to do with your personal life. I'm going to answer any question as regards to that. And with that, I'm going to say a very wonderful thank you to you for being a part of this stream today, for being a part of this session today. And for you, if you are watching this replay, I want to say thank you very much for sticking around and watching up to this point. I am Dyer Samuel, and on my channel here, what I do is to help you become all that you want to be and to break through whatever is holding you back. I create content in the area of personal transformation, your mental and emotional well-being, and a shift in higher consciousness. I am Dio Samuel once again, and I'm going to see you next video. So I'm going to see you tomorrow, and I hope that we are going to have a great time then. Have yourself a wonderful time. Enjoy yourself. See you later. Zoom.